Day. My name is Anomaly. If you don't already know, you can follow me on Twitter at Legendary Energy. You can follow me on Instagram at Dream Rare, and of course, you can follow me on Facebook here at Anomaly. I'm gonna wait about 15 seconds for people to get in, and I want to talk about Colin Kaepernick and what I think about him and what he's doing and the media attention around that, since it seems like it's gonna be in the news for a while. First off, I'd like to say, for the people that are already in, we hit 250,000 on this page. That's pretty awesome. Thank you guys so much for sharing, liking, whether they're trying to censor me or not, I'm not quite sure, but we still continue to thrive and gain traction, so thank you guys so much. Now I want to talk about Colin Kaepernick because I see both sides of the debate, and I feel like both sides of the debate, in my personal opinion, are getting some things wrong when it comes to Colin Kaepernick. His supporters and his the people that are supporting him, I think, are a little dishonest, and the people who are hating on him, I think, are a little off kilter. So I wanted to kind of slice through this media narrative about Colin Kaepernick. First off, I would say that as far as him kneeling and him speaking out about social, rights in Somalia and Yemen and stuff like that, personally, I actually think it's good and it's refreshing, because when it comes to music and when it comes to sports, they have these people signed in contracts to where they can't say anything. This is not good. This is not healthy. This is why we got where we got. This is why all these wars started. It's because nobody knows what's going on. We watch these sports and we have no idea what's really happening in the world, and no athlete's allowed to say anything. If they even question the referee, they get fined. So I think it's good to speak out. And just stay tuned. Just listen to the whole talk before you get all in your feelings. So I think it's healthy for a player to speak out. So on that side, I agree with the activists and whatnot who are supporting him. But here's the part where I think everybody's missing. At the end of the day, whether you're speaking out or not, I personally think it's great. I wish he would talk about Syria and what's going on there, because I think it's good. And to be honest, as far as America goes, I'm proud to be an American, but for a while here, I was not so proud to be an American, because I see we're starting all these wars. We're funding and arming terrorists during the Bush and Obama administration, so it's hard to be really proud of your country when your government's overseas, funding terrorists and destroying entire countries. So I feel Colin Kaepernick there. But here's the part that I think the activists are missing, and all of the news sources running to his defense. Here's the main part that they're missing, is that regardless of him speaking out or not, you're there to play football. You're a football player. You have to perform on the field. And the thing is, Colin Kaepernick wasn't in his prime of his career when he started talking about all that stuff. That would be different if he was leading his team to the Super Bowl, and then, he's in the prime of his career. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Then he starts talking all this stuff. Then if no team picked him up, I would say I would 100% agree with you. It's totally political. They're not picking him up because he's speaking out. But you have to understand, what Colin Kaepernick did, in my opinion, is a little bit corny. Not because he's speaking out. I love the idea behind it. I wish he would get some of his facts straight and figure out what's really going on in these countries and whatnot. But he waited until he wasn't even starting. He wasn't performing well on the field. It was probably the low of his career. He waited until that point to start kneeling and speaking out and talking about all these countries and really going against the grain. And I'm a person that goes against the grain, but when you're there to play football, you can't act like Colin Kaepernick was in the prime of his career and then no teams wanted to take him. He was already not playing well. It was probably the worst he'd ever played in his whole career, and now he comes with a lot of baggage of, saying all these things, kneeling and whatnot. So I think that's the part the activists are missing. He was not in the prime of his career. He was not playing well. He wasn't even starting. So it's not like every team isn't picking him up just because of that. He wasn't playing that great. And if you're going to speak out, you have to understand you're carrying extra baggage. So you want to be at the top of your game, so a team has to pick you up. So that's my thought on that. I show love and respect to the flag. I think it's healthy to do, but I don't think blind allegiance to, a country is necessarily the healthiest thing when you have presidents like George Bush and Obama that just got away from what America was about. And, I don't know the whole history. I mean, I know what I read in history books as far as the United States I find that it's a little twisted. I think they twist and lie about the news today. So when I read history, I take it with a grain of salt. But I personally stand and support the flag, but I'd like to see athletes and musicians speak out, because this is something I thought about recently. It's very strange to me. How controlled are athletes and how controlled are musicians? You got to think about, when it comes to Donald Trump, whether they like him or dislike him, he's saving them millions of dollars, because Donald Trump is lowering taxes on the upper class. So he's saving them tens of millions of dollars, yet no athlete, barely any celebrities, and barely any musicians come to his support. Think about how controlled that athletes must be. Think about how controlled that musicians and celebrities must be if they're saving $10 and $20 million a year, not having to give their money and get it taken from them by the government, and they still don't even want to support a president because they're afraid the media is going to throw them under the bus. I think we need more athletes, personally. I think we need more celebrities stepping up, going against the grain. But one of two things as well: you have to perform in whatever your craft is, and you have to get your facts straight. I think those two are important things, where I think, Kaepernick, I don't think he knows that much about the Middle East. I think that he's trying to learn. He talks about Africa and whatnot. I think that's great. I think he should definitely, continue to learn and, speak truths in that section. But you have to perform at what you're doing. It's like if you're a musician and you drop the worst album of your career and you're making terrible music, and then you start speaking out, and then you start acting like, oh my God, no label's gonna sign me because I'm speaking out. Well, no, you gotta make great music first. You gotta play good football first. You have to do your craft well first. And I think that's the thing that everybody's missing. I think the polarization of this debate has been either Colin Kaepernick's un-American, move out of the country, you're not a real American. And then the other side is, oh my God, Colin Kaepernick's a hero, a legend, he's perfect, and any team that doesn't want to pick him up is, just a hater, and they don't care about people, and, they're racist and this and that. I find that both sides of the debate are wrong. I think, the one side is being a little too hard on Kaepernick, and I think that the activists are being a little too nice to him and not realizing that he wasn't playing football that well. He was at the low light of his career when he started doing the most, extra activities. It's the same thing as someone like a Terrell Owens or a J.R. Smith. If you don't watch sports, then you probably have no idea what I'm talking about. But the type of player that they do a lot of extra stuff, you have to be really, really good. Because if you're not that good of a player and you do all this extra stuff, you're always talking this and that, you're not going to make it on a roster. But if you play at a LeBron James level, and LeBron isn't that type of person, but if you're a top 10 player, 20 player, you can get away with more of the controversy, so to speak. So I would love to see more athletes and celebrities speak out. To be honest, I think it's very healthy, because they're all like scared now. The music industry, the film industry. I get text messages, from people in the industry saying, Anomaly, thank you so much for saying this stuff. I wish I could say it, but I don't want to get blacklisted from the industry. I know Roseanne Barr, I've seen her talk about an interview where people say the same thing in the film industry. Thank you so much, Roseanne. I wish I could say this, but I'm afraid. So there's people in these industries, and athletes, musicians, and film industry people, that they want to talk about these things, but they're afraid. So I support the idea behind it 100%. I think more people should definitely speak out, but get your facts straight, one. And I just find it very strange that no athlete, no celebrity, like there's very few people that know what's going on in Syria. Like, even Colin Kaepernick, I wish he would talk about Syria and the fact that President Trump stopped arming moderate rebels. These moderate rebels, whether they were terrorists or not, all of the weapons ended up getting taken over. The money, it was probably going directly to terrorists. So you had George Bush and Barack Obama literally funding terrorists, and Donald Trump, 6 months into office, terrorism is almost gone. I mean, where are the athletes? Where is Colin Kaepernick? Where are the celebrities? Where are these humanitarians? I'm just dumbfounded. Even people like Susan Sarandon, I haven't checked her Twitter in a while, but, she's a big activist, a Bernie Sanders Green Party person. Cool. Much love to Susan Sarandon. But where are all these people when Donald Trump, makes a big play in Syria and does what everybody has wanted him to do and that people wanted Bernie Sanders to do, blah, blah, blah. It's like nobody cares. So I would love to see people talk about Syria more, because if you check Syria, in Iraq, ISIS is being kicked out of there, Al-Qaeda is being weakened, and the Syrian people are being liberated, and the news continues to spin it. I'm a little bit tired today, so I didn't feel like weighing in. There's so much stuff going on. The Google memo, they fired somebody. I know Twitter censoring people, Facebook's being weird, YouTube has been censoring people. I'm going to try to make a big video soon. I'm just a little bit tired. I was on the Jesse Lee Peterson show early this morning. That was cool. He was a really nice, interesting guy. Check that out if you haven't seen us, I believe, on his website. Thank you guys for helping me hit, we did it together, 250,000. That's pretty cool. Let's keep shooting for the stars, and more importantly, spread love, knowledge, wisdom, and all of these things, and have these discussions, because when no athlete's allowed to say anything and no celebrity's allowed to say anything, you get this weird culture of political correctness where, everybody is just caught in the media narrative of everything, and they do that to athletes too. I know I have some friends that are athletes, and they play the same type of media story. They have to make everything like a Disney movie. It's like, oh, they're the hero, they're the enemy, they're doing this, they're doing that. The media spins athletes out of proportion too. They just kind of use everybody to try to make a big scoop just to, hype up the narrative on that. And, they don't want athletes to talk out against the referees, even though in the NBA, the referees on multiple occasions have been caught cheating. It's a known fact. It's in documentaries I've watched. I've seen clips, from other things. The refs are known cheaters, but if an NBA player dares question the referee, he gets fined. If an NFL player doesn't talk after an interview after the game, if they're tired and they just want to go home, they get fined. They literally have these NBA and NFL players in these really tight contracts where they don't want them to talk politics, they don't want them to do this, they don't want them to do that, but they have such big platforms. We need more people speaking out. It's very unfortunate that a lot of the musicians that do speak out, like John Legend and his wife and all these people, it's like they're such shills. They just like regurgitate fake news and spit it out to everybody. So it's like all the activist musicians are just fake activists who lie all the time. It's very unfortunate. They're very fear-mongering, very negative, and they just take the mainstream media narrative and then spit it back out to people and think that they're an activist or a women's rights, social justice advocate. They're totally not. They're just complete cornballs, liars, fear-mongers, and very negative people. For someone like John Legend, he's such a lovely singer and he sings beautiful songs. I think John Legend's an incredible singer. It's sad to see that his wife is so unhinged. It's like you're married to John Legend and you have these beautiful songs about how much he loves you and how you guys have a perfect relationship. Why are you regurgitating the Washington Post and New York Times on Twitter like an unhinged, Antifa member? It's so strange to me. But like I said, I would love to see more people speak out. And to recap, I think Colin Kaepernick, I love to see the speak out, but one, get your facts straight. Two, realize which president's funding terrorism and which president's stopping the country from being involved in terrorism. And three, you got to play football. If you're there to play football, you can't wait till the low light of your career, do all this activist stuff, and then cry like, oh my God, why is no team picking me up? You weren't playing like John Elway. You weren't playing like Peyton Manning. You weren't playing like Colin Kaepernick. I mean, you weren't even starting. You fell off, and then you started doing the activism stuff. So that's my thought on it, and I wanted to get that out since it was a somewhat slow news day. And I see that all over the news, and I feel like both sides are kind of skewing it a little bit in a weird direction. So thank you guys for joining. I'm tired. Hopefully I'll feel a little bit better and make a video tonight. I have a good video about the censorship of Twitter, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Google. They're all censoring people, specifically Trump supporters, whether you like Trump or not and you follow me. I mean, they shouldn't be censoring people, and Twitter's censoring Eric Trump. Donald Trump retweeted a woman and she got censored. Facebook's kicking people off when they share my video. It's some really creepy 1984 type stuff, and it's not a conspiracy. It's no longer just like a sci-fi movie or Game of Thrones. It's real life. So I hope people are paying attention, and I feel good about the future. I think a lot of people are awake, and I think it's a great time to be alive. They're trying to control the narrative on mainstream media, but they can't do it. They don't want you to exist. They act like you don't exist. They act like you're someone you're not, but there's one problem. You are who you are, and you do exist. And there's tens of hundreds of millions of people who exist that they don't want them to exist, and everybody keeps growing, and the platforms keep growing, and people seek the truth, and more people do their own thing. So it's a beautiful time to be alive. Enjoy your day, enjoy your week. I'll be back hopefully with a video late tonight or tomorrow if I'm feeling more up to it. If not, definitely this week I'm going to try to get 2 or 3, squared videos. One about the environment, and then one about the censorship that's going on. Thank you guys so much. I'm going to drop my links below if you would like to donate. If not, it's all good. Get yourself something good to eat. Get your family something. I'm good. I'm blessed, and hopefully you are too. Thank you guys so much. Have a good day.